Preparing for a finance manager at General Mills interview? You've reached Candy Mentor, and this video is for you. We'll walk through 15 key questions you're likely to face. For each question, you'll see a sample answer followed by the key points to cover. Subscribe, like, and share, and drop a topic request in the comments. Question 1. Why are you interested in a finance manager role at General Mills? I am interested in General Mills because it combines iconic brands with complex, everyday financial decisions. The role would let me connect consumer insights, pricing, volume, mix, productivity, and investment choices to profitable growth. I also value the company's purpose-driven culture and cross-functional operating model. My experience building forecasts, challenging assumptions, and translating analysis into actions would help business partners make decisions that strengthen both near-term results and long-term brand equity. While answering, focus on General Mills' iconic consumer brands, the complexity of CPG economics, cross-functional decision-making, profitable growth, and how your forecasting and business partnering experience supports long-term brand value. Question 2. Walk me through your background and how it prepared you for this position. My career has centered on turning financial data into operating decisions. I began by developing strong accounting and reporting fundamentals, then moved into FP&A, where I owned forecasts, variance analysis, and management reporting. Along the way, I partnered with sales, supply chain, and operations, learning to challenge assumptions constructively. I am now seeking a finance manager role where I can lead a team, influence commercial choices, and improve planning discipline in a scaled consumer business like General Mills. Make sure to cover your accounting and FP and a foundation, increasing ownership, forecasting and variance experience, stakeholder partnerships, leadership exposure, and the specific capabilities that transfer to a scaled consumer products finance organization. Question 3. What do you believe is the role of a finance manager at General Mills? To me, a finance manager is both an analytical leader and a business partner. I would set a clear planning cadence, ensure reliable reporting, coach analysts, and help leaders choose among competing uses of capital. At General Mills, that could mean connecting brand investment, pricing, innovation, manufacturing productivity, and working capital to the profit and loss and cash flow. Success would be measured not only by forecast accuracy, but by whether finance improves the quality and speed of decisions. In your answer, talk about analytical leadership, reliable reporting, team development, planning discipline, business partnership, and connecting brand investment, pricing, productivity, working capital, profit, and cash flow outcomes. Question 4. How would you build an annual budget and rolling forecast for a General Mills business? I start with a driver-based forecast rather than simply applying last year's growth rate. For each category, I separate baseline demand from pricing, volume, mix, promotions, distribution, innovation, foreign exchange, and productivity. I validate assumptions with sales and supply chain leaders, compare them with external signals, and run upside and downside cases. After the forecast is approved, I track leading indicators monthly and update the outlook when evidence changes, explaining both the variance and the action required. Be sure to mention driver-based planning, baseline demand, pricing, volume, mix, promotions, innovation, foreign exchange, productivity, stakeholder validation, scenario analysis, and ongoing monitoring of leading indicators. Question 5. How do you investigate and communicate a significant unfavorable variance? When actual results differ from plan, I first determine whether the variance is timing, volume, rate, mix, or a genuine assumption failure. I would bridge revenue and profit from plan to actual, then validate the story with commercial and operations teams. For example, a gross margin miss might reflect unfavorable product mix, commodity inflation, or manufacturing inefficiency. I finish by assigning owners, quantifying the recovery plan, and updating the forecast rather than merely documenting the miss. Focus on separating timing, volume, rate, mix, and assumption errors, building a plan-to-actual bridge, validating the story with operators, identifying owners, quantifying recovery actions, and updating the forecast. Question 6. How would you evaluate a proposed price increase on a General Mills brand? Pricing decisions should protect long-term value, not just create a short-term revenue lift. I would analyze elasticity, competitor pricing, trade promotion, pack architecture, customer profitability, and likely volume response. Then I would model revenue, gross margin, market share, and consumer behavior under several scenarios. I would partner with sales and brand teams to define guardrails and monitor results after implementation. The key is distinguishing true price realization from favorable mix or temporary promotional timing. Discuss elasticity, competitor pricing, trade promotion, pack architecture, customer profitability, volume response, revenue, gross margin, market share, consumer behavior, and post-implementation monitoring. Question 7. What actions would you recommend if commodity inflation threatened gross margin? In an inflationary environment, I would build a transparent bridge from commodity and logistics costs to gross margin, separating inflation, pricing, productivity, mix, and foreign exchange. I would evaluate actions such as pricing, pack changes, sourcing, reformulation, manufacturing efficiency, and selective cost absorption. Those choices require cross-functional judgment because protecting margin can affect volume and brand equity. I would present scenarios, recommend a balanced response, and monitor consumer and customer reactions closely. Cover a transparent margin bridge, commodity and logistics inflation, pricing, pack changes, sourcing, reformulation, productivity, cost absorption, consumer response, brand equity, and scenario-based recommendations. Question 8. How would you improve working capital without damaging customer service? Working capital is cash invested in inventory, receivables, and payables, and it matters because profitable growth can still consume cash. I would segment inventory by service risk and obsolescence, improve demand and production alignment, review customer terms and deductions, and manage supplier terms responsibly. A practical example is reducing slow-moving inventory without hurting in stock levels. I would track cash conversion, forecast accuracy, service metrics, and root causes together, not optimize one metric in isolation. Explain the cash implications of inventory, receivables, and payables. Discuss segmentation, demand alignment, service levels, deductions, supplier terms, obsolescence, cash conversion, and root cause management. Question 9. How would you partner with supply chain leaders when production capacity is constrained? I would connect supply chain decisions to service, cost, margin, and cash rather than viewing them as isolated operational metrics. For a production constraint, I would compare contribution margin, customer commitments, inventory availability, and changeover costs across products. I would then quantify scenarios with operations and commercial teams, recommend the best economic choice, and document trade-offs. Finance adds value by making scarcity visible and ensuring the decision supports the portfolio, not just one plant or category. Mention service, cost, margin, cash, customer commitments, contribution margin, inventory availability, changeover costs, scenario modeling, cross-functional trade-offs, and portfolio-level decision-making. Question 10. How do you lead, coach, and develop a finance team? Effective leadership starts with clear expectations, useful feedback, and ownership of outcomes. I would define priorities, establish review rhythms, and tailor coaching to each person's development needs. For strong analysts seeking promotion, I might delegate a stakeholder-facing project while providing checkpoints. For someone struggling, I would diagnose the gap and agree on specific actions. I also want the team close to the business because analysts develop faster when they explain insights and influence decisions directly. Focus on clear expectations, prioritization, regular feedback, tailored coaching, delegation, psychological safety, stakeholder exposure, succession planning, and developing analysts who can influence decisions. Question 11. Tell me about a time you disagreed with a senior business partner. I would treat disagreement as a chance to improve the decision, not as a contest. First, I would understand the stakeholders' objective and test whether our assumptions differ on volume, timing, risk, or data quality. Then I would present a concise analysis, including sensitivities and consequences, and seek a practical recommendation. If material uncertainty remains, I would escalate transparently with options. Once aligned, I would support the decision and track outcomes objectively. In your answer, explain how you clarified objectives, tested differing assumptions, used concise analysis and sensitivities, offered practical options, escalated transparently when needed, and maintained commitment after alignment. Question 12. What financial controls would you prioritize as a finance manager? Strong controls make financial information dependable without creating unnecessary bureaucracy. I would map key risks across close, forecasting, journal entries, master data, approvals, and management reporting, then assign clear ownership and evidence requirements. I would use reconciliations, review thresholds, access controls, and exception reporting based on risk. If I found a control failure, I would contain the issue, assess impact, correct the process, and confirm remediation through follow-up testing. Discuss risks across close, forecasting, journal entries, master data, approvals, reporting, reconciliations, access controls, exception reporting, ownership, evidence, remediation, and risk-based control design. Question 13. How have you used data, automation, or systems to improve finance processes? I would begin by defining the business question and the required decision, then assess data sources, ownership, definitions, and reconciliation points. I have learned that automation is valuable only when the underlying logic is understood and controlled. I would standardize recurring inputs, build validation checks, and document assumptions before improving dashboards or models. The result should reduce manual effort, increase transparency, and give leaders timely insight without sacrificing financial integrity. Cover defining the business question, data governance, source reliability, consistent definitions, reconciliations, automation controls, documentation, reduced manual effort, transparency, and decision-useful reporting. Question 14. Tell me about a professional failure and what you learned from it. Earlier in my career, I delivered a forecast that was technically accurate but too detailed for the leadership audience, so the key risks were buried. I asked for direct feedback, redesigned the output around decisions and drivers, and added a concise executive summary with sensitivities. Subsequent reviews became more focused and actionable. The lesson was that finance must communicate insight, not merely produce analysis. Clarity is part of technical quality, especially when decisions are time-sensitive. Choose a genuine but recoverable example. Explain your accountability, corrective action, measurable improvement, stakeholder communication, and the broader lesson about clarity, prioritization, or decision-oriented finance. Question 15. What would your priorities be during your first 90 days at General Mills? In my first 90 days, I would listen, learn, and then improve selectively. I would meet business, commercial, supply chain, accounting, and finance partners, understand the planning calendar, key drivers, controls, and current pain points, and review recent forecast and performance bridges. I would establish credibility by delivering reliable commitments first. Then I would identify one or two practical improvements, such as simplifying reporting or strengthening a driver-based forecast with measurable benefits. Make sure to cover listening, stakeholder relationships, planning calendars, key business drivers, controls, recent performance, pain points, early credibility, practical process improvements, and measurable outcomes. If you are still with us, congratulations, you are much ahead of the rest and serious about preparing for your interview. We hope we were able to add value to your preparation and create some helpful content. Do not forget to like and share this video. Your small act can do great things for us.